that I'm going to ask her, and she can give your responses. Question number one is, what is the worst decision you have ever made?
I think probably in general, just not taking enough risks in my life. Like I tend to play it kind of safe. So that's something I'm looking to grow in the future, just taking more risk and not stay in my comfort zone for day-to-day activities and pursuing goals in the future.
Next question would be, what is the best decision you ever made that affected someone else?
I would probably say since I've been here in Boone, I've helped out with the Operation Christmas Child Shoe Boxes. So just helping kids that are less fortunate and being involved in that has been a big deal.
Question number three is, what is the worst decision someone has made that directly affected you?
I think everything happens for a reason. I'm sure there's been times in my life where things haven't gone the way that I planned, but I think at the end of the day, you're in charge of how you react to things, in charge of your attitude. So I try to focus on the positive things.
Next question is, who or what are you loyal to?
So definitely, the main things in my life are my faith, my family, and my friends. So at the end of the day, I want to do everything I can to have the best relationships I can with my friends and my family.
The next question is, how do you decide between being loyal to yourself and loyal to someone else?
I think it's about doing what's right. I think it's also a two-way street. Loyalty, you give and you take. So I think it's kind of a two-way street.
Next question is, who determines the amount of loyalty someone has towards you?
I think, it's also the same thing. It's a two-way street, and I think it's easy to be loyal to someone if they're loyal back to you. And I think a lot of with loyalty has to do with trust as well. So I think trust isn't a main thing with loyalty.
What are a few things that you are loyal to?
Definitely my faith, my friends, my family. They're the most important people in my life, so I'm going to do everything I can to stay loyal to them.
Last question is, what does loyal mean to you?
Loyal is just staying true to who you are, sticking with people through the good and the bad, and just staying committed is the main thing.
Well, that's it with this interview. I'd like to thank you for taking the interview.
All right.
Help me move my class.
All right, thank you, Aaron.
And I'm interviewing Dr. Triplett with Health, Leisure, and Exercise Science. I'm trying to find out more about decision making. I'm going to interview her, ask her some questions, and answer. Question number one is, what is the best decision you've ever made that affected someone else?
Well, I guess I'd like to think there's a lot of them. Usually it involves decisions about giving career advice, and so I think trying to, I get people coming and asking me about like what they should do next in their career path, and so I think I've advised people maybe not to pursue a PhD or to pursue a PhD. I can think of several instances, and it ended up being the right thing for that person. So I feel pretty good about that when I thought about the bigger picture for them.
Next question is, what is the worst decision someone has made that directly affected you?
That's kind of a tough one, but the one that comes to mind is when I was early in my career, I was interviewing for jobs, and my mentor for my that I studied with for my doctoral program, he felt like one of the jobs I was looking at was not really the ideal job for me, and I was willing to take that ideal job if that was the one that was offered, and because it meant being near family. And so he kind of made that decision for me because he told the committee that it was not the ideal job for me, and so then they eliminated me from consideration. I mean, I think in the long run, it all ended up working out all right, but for a long time, I think I felt like that was a negative thing.
Next question is, who are you loyal to?
Well, obviously family, close friends. I think if you're talking, that's primary people, and extended family, of course. And then I think if you're referring to maybe organizations or things like that, I think I feel a lot of loyalty towards this university, and I also feel a lot of loyalty towards my main professional association.
How do you decide between being loyal to yourself and loyal to someone else?
I guess that's a tough one. I think it just depends on the situation, where I try to look at beyond myself. I try to look at the big picture. I try to look at being what's for the greater good. Because I think if people are looking out for more than just themselves, then we all benefit. And so I try to look at that first. And then, so sometimes I think I would pick, being loyal to someone else over myself. But then there's other situations where maybe the case wouldn't be something that would involve the greater good. And so then I would probably be more true to myself.
What are a few things that you're loyal to?
I know we talked about people and organizations. I don't know if I have. Yeah. I may have already answered that one, but.
Who determines the amount of loyalty someone has towards you?
Well, I guess I would hope that I make it easy for a person to determine how much loyalty they have for me by my behaviors. And so I guess I don't really demand a certain amount of loyalty. I know some people do that, they demand loyalty, but I think that's something, it's kind of like trust and other things that have to be earned. And so I think I would like to think that I, by my behavior, make it easy for a person to choose to be loyal to me and how much loyalty they would have to me.
Last question is, what is the worst decision you've ever made?
Oh, this one's so hard. You can categorize worst decisions in a lot of different ways. You can look at, I think of things academically, I guess, because I deal with students on a daily basis, and I see myself, 20, 30 years ago. You think of decisions socially that were probably not in the best interest. And so probably social decisions in my early 20s, just, maybe with alcohol or things like that. I would say, but luckily it all turned out all right. Nobody, I didn't suffer any ill consequences, but.
I just like to think.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
Hey, I'm Aaron. I'm interviewing Matt Hamilton, a student here at Appalachian State, to try to figure out some more stuff on decision making. I'm going to ask him a few questions. What is the worst decision you've ever made?
The worst decision I've ever made is probably a bunch. Probably just being disrespectful to my parents, I would have to say. Just because they do so much for you, and as you get older, you realize that you were stupid as a kid to not listen to them and follow their rules. So I believe not listen to my parents.
What is the best decision you've ever made that affected someone else?
I'd have to say probably coming to college and trying to get a degree. That way, feel a role model for my younger brothers to try to go to school and get a degree so I can make something and help my family out in times if they need it.
What is the worst decision someone has made that directly affected you?
Worst, I would say in high school, my high school coach cutting me from the team. Thought it was a poor decision, but in return, it helped me. That's when I began coaching when I was 16, so it kind of led me to the path that I am on today, and hopefully pursuing a career in coaching.
Who or what are you loyal to?
I'd just say my family, foremost, parents, my 3 brothers. They're always there for me, so in return, I would be willing to do anything that they need me to do. couple buddies that I've known since I was little that we've been through a bunch of stuff. So mainly my family and a couple friends.
How do you decide between being loyal to yourself and loyal to someone else?
I would say, how would you decide? I think it depends on the person's situation, I would say. Like I said, obviously I would be loyal to my family and friends foremost, and then depending on what the situation is with someone else, if they've been loyal to me before, maybe I can give them be loyal back, or if they've stabbed in the back previously, then you're more hesitant to be loyal to them.
Who determines the amount of loyalty someone has towards you?
I would say myself in the situation. Obviously, like I said, can I trust someone and to give them my loyalty, or do I do something that's best for me depending on what the situation is?
What does loyal mean to you?
What does loyal mean? Loyal is just doing something that maybe sometimes is asked for, but also is not asked for of another person, to give them their trust and attention, I guess I would say.
What is the best decision you've ever made that affected you?
Best decision? I guess I would have to go back to the college thing. Coming to college and trying to improve my life in all aspects.
Well, I'd just like to say thank you for taking time to let me interview.
Appreciate it. Go.
My name is Aaron. I'm interviewing Kelvin Sampson, assistant basketball coach at Appalachian State. I'm trying to figure out some more stuff.
Stop.
I'm trying to figure out some more stuff on decision making. I'm asking a few questions and he's going to give me some answers. What is the worst decision you've ever made?
I think the worst decision I ever made, just to cluster it, would be to anytime I directly disobeyed my parents. Whether it be something smaller or something very large, but to directly disobey them was definitely a bad decision.
What is the best decision you've ever made that affected someone else?
You know, as a college recruiter, I think the best decision I make that influences someone else is deciding to offer them a scholarship or not. One of the great things about working here at Appalachian State, and one of the great things about being in the college basketball system, is you have the opportunity to enhance somebody else's life by providing them providing belief and instilling belief in them first and foremost, but also giving them a chance to earn a college education and give them a chance to then provide for themselves for the next 40 years. So I think that is.
What is the worst decision someone has made that directly affected you?
I think the worst decision someone's made that influences me is any, just a cluster, anytime somebody doesn't see the big picture. You know, I get disappointed when people see the small things and they'll take see the tree instead of the forest. You know, anytime somebody chooses convenience or passion instead of rationale, bothers me and it has negative consequences because a lot of times decisions that others make do have long-term effects for others, not just themselves.
Who or what are you loyal to?
Loyal to my family, first and foremost. I think that's why, looking back on my decisions that I've made, anytime I've disappointed them, is the ones that hurt the most. But I'm loyal to my university, both at the school that I graduated from, University of Oklahoma, but also the school that employs me, Appalachian State. I'm loyal to my faith. I think that above all else, all of us eventually are going to have to answer to a higher calling, and I'm loyal to the idea of one day having to answer to that upstairs looking
How do you decide between being loyal to yourself and loyal to someone else?
You know, I think that when determining, and again, I guess it all is a decision, but when I'm deciding whether or not I'm loyal to myself or loyal to someone else, first thing I look for is common ground. Is there anything that would possibly, is there any decision that could bind us together and make both of us better? If there's not, I try to take the lesser of two evils and which is the best decision that has the most positive outcomes for either person. And sometimes it definitely means inconveniencing myself, and sometimes that means inconveniencing someone else. But I think that the biggest thing with me and all the decisions I make is the big picture.
Who determines the amount of loyalty someone has towards you?
I think I do. Maybe that's an egotistical answer, but the amount of, I think that, if someone's not loyal to me, then it usually means I haven't invested a lot in them. Investment is a huge term in my vocabulary, because if I'm going to invest time, invest energy, invest something in somebody, then absolutely I expect loyalty. But if I don't invest a lot in you, then it's pretty irrational for me to think that they're going to be loyal to me.
Last question I'd like to ask you is, what does loyal mean to you?
I think loyalty means to me is understanding and sticking by somebody through adversity. It's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to be tough, but sometimes you have to grit your teeth and wrap your arms around someone or something and understand that it's bigger than just you, and you have the opportunity to enhance somebody else's life by saving life.
Well, I'd like to say thank you for letting me interview you.
Absolutely.
Hey, I'm here. I'm interviewing Ms. Kim McConnell for administrative assistant for basketball. I'm going to ask you some questions to try to figure out some more stuff about decision making. First question is, what is the worst decision you've ever made?
I think the worst decision I ever made was to leave my job in Ohio and come to Boone, where it was extremely difficult to find a job. I was well paid, but love gets you. And I quit that job, gave up that job, and moved here after I was married.
What is the best decision you've ever made that affected someone else?
The best decision ever made was when my husband and I decided to adopt the two boys that we were foster caring. Their birth parents were not in the picture at all, did not want to be in the picture at all, and of course we wanted children desperately. And the best decision we made was to actually go into the social service program, take the classes, become foster parents, and then eventually become adopted parents.
What is the worst decision someone has made that directly affected you?
That's sort of like the first question for me. The worst decision was when my husband decided that we were going to live in Boone, North Carolina instead of Cleveland, Ohio, and went along with it, and that affected me, and I still have a hard time with it. My entire family's in Cleveland, but I've been here 22 years now, so I'm staying.
Who or what are you loyal to?
My first loyalty is to God, my family, my friends. Loyalty is, to me, an extreme relationship, a very strong relationship, and God would be first of all.
How do you decide between being loyal to yourself and loyal to someone else?
I don't think you can be loyal to someone else until you're loyal to yourself first. And once you have the package, well, with me anyway, it's God, family, friends, and being loyal to myself first. It makes it easy for me to be loyal to my friends, my family, and of course God.
What determines the amount of loyalty someone has to you?
Just being there for me. Being able to laugh with my friends, to family. Being able to trust. I think trust is a major issue. And once you can trust somebody, you definitely can feel the loyalty building, and you know that that is going to be your friend, your family, forever.
What does loyal mean to you?
Loyal means, like I said before, a really strong relationship, a trust relationship with someone. And I think once again, trust, as I tell my children, trust has to be earned. Trust is not a given thing. Once you break that trust, it becomes more difficult to have that strong relationship with somebody. And that loyalty is everything.
The last question I'm going to ask you is, what is the best decision you've ever made affecting yourself?
I think the best decision I ever made was not getting married till I was 30. I was able to travel. I was able to do things that I would never have been able to do once I got married. I had a job where I went throughout the United States. I met a lot of people, visited a lot of cities, but I was not ready to get married until after I got to be able to do all these things. And then once 30 hit, I was ready to get married.
I would just like to say thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.